Chris Taylor was at another GT. This one was a smaller one with 33 players. But in this case, Chris Taylor was running the Bully Boyz, but he had a few tech pieces that I actually really wanted to look at that most people aren't really using. So, hola de Puerto Rico, mi gente. All right, so we have 20. We have the Bully Boyz list, but in this Bully Boyz list, he has some fun points here. So he has a Zodgrod Wortsnagga. Yes, Zodgrod in the Bully Boyz list, boys. It's legit. We're here. We have 2 war bosses, 3 war bosses in mega armors. One's the big gob, so the dude that yells at you makes the battle shock test. I think that's just fantastic to think about in your head. And then he has the teleport, because deep striking mega armored boys is awesome. Then another war boss mega armor, like I said, that has nothing. 2 units of Flash Gitz. Hey, Flash Gitz making their comeback, right? They're excellent for skirmishing. They're tough like a little knob. They get 4 attacks base, strength 5. They feel really good, and just pop that lethally when they come out. You're the fact that they have sustain already, and then you have lethal at least once per game means you have a good chance of actually getting a trade for those cheap 80 points. He has the full 20-man unit of Gretchin for Zod, so he paid the Zod tag. He has another unit of Gretchin, but he also stuck in the Kommandos, boys. Yes, he did. This very much looks like the very notorious I strike you first with the proper wall, and then I hit you with the bully boy wall. That's what this is really looking like. So he has 2 war bosses of mega armor, 2 5-man units of mega knobs with power claws and custom shooters, and then he has a 6-man unit of mega knobs, which is probably the teleporter lad. 4 of those guys have twin kills off. Then he has 2 5-man units of knobs with the war boss, of course, 2 storm boy units, and then 4 trucks. I was gonna say 5, sorry. 4 trucks here on this list for the ultimate transports, because trucks are completely vital for an orc list like this for Bully Boyz from Mega Knobs being so slow. So I love that this is very much up to, he brings a initial WAAAGH with Zod and the Kommandos possibly, and then he runs up in there with the actual real WAAAGH. What's interesting is he's probably running some what I like to call SWAT teams here, as the Flash Gitz can go with the 5-man units of knobs and the war boss into that truck, and then that becomes a well-rounded kind of skirmish thing, right? If it's a volume amount of units, you can put this Flash Gitz in there. If it's something that has power armor, just the knobs can get out. If you need to throttle on a unit and just do everything you can into it, use both of them, and it's not too much of an overpriced a skirmishing kind of combo that comes with the truck. So it's actually a really nice package. This is a really well thought out and designed list. So let's look up his win pass. So game 1, he had the Adeptus Custodes new take, Shield Captain with the Lars Turbinators, Shield Captain with Dawn Eagle Jetbike. So my boy's trying. And the US Lars Terminators. I think Terminators are quite excellent in Custodes into Orks because of their blast grenade launches with rerolls when you have characters in their unit. So that's really good. 2 Ares gunships. So this dude was just going out there. Okay, never mind. Then he has the Inquisitor, Eisenhorn, Inquisitor, Henchman. I've actually played against these Ares gunships. They just don't have volume. So very much I'm just banking it because the army was not where they wanted to be. But that's how it is sometimes when you go to events and you're playing with people who are round 1. It just comes out like that. You should never be surprised if you get a wacky list at round 1 at an event. Then you have Sisters, Adeptus Sororis with the Hollowed Martyr ladies. We have a Canonist, Palatine, Saint Celestine, Triumph of Saint Catherine. So that's like it gives a bunch of different aura buffs around that little lady. It's not a little lady, it's a group of ladies. We have Battle Sisters, 2 units of those, 2 Immolators, which I think are quite better than the version of just straight up tanks, right? These aren't the ones. Yeah, okay. I think actually are those. Never mind. So we have two units of Rhinos, followed by 2 units of Arcoflagellants with 3 Castigators. There they are. A Crusader squad, 3 Seraphim units, and 1 Seraphim unit. Okay, there we go. So he brought all the small baby MSU units so you can run around and play the mission optimally, which is very annoying for most armies. But in Green Tide, you can take up all that space and kind of literally wash over all of these small annoying skirmish units. Castigators are all right. You know, they're not bad. They don't have good AP into armor, so the battle wagon can literally just kind of ignore these girls, as disrespectful as that sounds. Because these other units like the Rhinos and the Emulators aren't really going to do much to a battle wagon. They could, because Sisters, remember, they can choose to just automatically hit you on 6s with something like a melter gun and such. But being -1 AP and strength like 10, I think on their cannons isn't so something. Their battle cannon isn't something to worry about. Of course, the Arcoflagellants are oddly good at stopping the orc, just because like the fact that they have their 4 up feel no pain and their 2 wounds of pop for a 10-man unit. But something that goes through that is a boatload of dice being thrown at them. The fact that they're actually a big unit means we get our full potential punches into them. If we do punch them, we roll into wounds, hitting on 2s. Obnoxious can actually put up the volume to one-shot these unit. Even if they don't, they greatly diminish it. So it's not a bad unit, but like army by any means, the Sisters army. It's just one of those things that people just wouldn't have the tools to take over something like a Bully Boyz unit reliably with their low AP from and the fact that he had I bopped out of that. And the fact that he was running the same boys list. There we go. The fact that he had Zod and the commando unit to put immediate pressure on the sister army meant he could hold them back in place, and any of these units he touches other than the tanks he can kill with like something like Zod, because Zod has a power claw plus 1 to wound built into that. So he can actually punch up in there and actually could bait out these arcoflagellants, so then he could put volume of punches from the knobs. Even the Flash Gitz put good volume into them with their damage too. So as a whole, this is what it looked like a fun game to play, but I would give the edge to Bully Boyz in this. They do lack some AP in that matchup, and the Mega Knobs are going to just run game and kind of just walk into those tanks if they get a chance, which is what I'm assuming kind of happened. So shout out to Chris Taylor. That was a good one. Game 3. He had the Thunderwolf Camry with Thunderwolves. Ooh, let's see how this is going to look. Talking about it, we have Logan Grimnar on Stormrider. Wolfguard Battle Leader on Thunderwolf. He had 3 of those and a Wolf Lord, so just 1. He played the tax. Oh, he played the Gladiator Lancer tax. Okay, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think that's the optimal way to play that, especially just 1. Infiltrators, Scout, 1, 2, 3 bricks of Thunderwolf Cav, 1 Vindicator, 3 units of 5 Wolfen, and a Cladius Assassin. Okay, so he probably just paid for the Gladiator Lancer because he could only get 1 Vindicator, or he only owned 1 Vindicator. So okay, it's not terrible by any means. It's a pretty well-rounded list here is all I'll say. He has the Wolfen to actually draw punches, but it's 5-man units. Those are more reliably actually getting punched out once they initiate against a Ork Boy unit. Whether that be Mega Knobs, if they run into a Mega Knob unit, they kill them. The Mega Knobs pretty much bounces them, especially on the wall. With the 5-man units of Knobs versus Wolfen, they can actually punch out the Knobs. But that's where not having something like Flash Gitz to jump out of the SWAT team and pump 2 damage shots, wounding them on 3s with auto wounding on lethal wounds on them and sustain, they can chip down those Wolfen units if they ever peek their head. So they actually have to respect and stage properly, which is something they're not used to. And Logan Grimnar is pretty big base when he's on Stormrider. So these units very much can hit you, but it's one of those things where they wouldn't be able to delay, and you have to hope that this is one of those things where taking the initiative from this army really hurts it. And Bully Boyz being able to kind of double butt into that and have a chance to bounce you with Mega Knobs and then counter punch and beat them up is something that the Wolves don't really want to deal with. So it is a hard game. I would not say it's like an easy immediately matchup, but Chris Taylor played it correctly, putting up 80 points, though. It was his lowest win point percentile. Having Zodgrod in that matchup to be able to run up and just stuff them in their deployment zone, possibly in the Kommandos, right? You're like, well, if you put your scouts here, I can also chew them up. I can touch them and just stand right in front of your Thunderwolves with that, so I could charge them and then string along and still bounce you out of your objective and keep you back turn 1. Take the spots for staging, make my Mega Knobs take the objectives. You have to punch them off or they get free primary and deny you primary. Then when I survive that, I counter punch you with my Knobs and SWAT teams. So that matchup would be very much, we actually control the pace with the double WAAAGH, so we could take the initiative from those Thunderwolves, and we have the infiltrating / scouting from that. So it's very much working. And so what that would be, that's a talked about tech piece combo of using Zodgrod and Kommandos to stop something like what would be considered one of our hard matchups in these Thunderwolf cavalry. So it was very nice to see that it ended up being a actual realistic practical combo that is being spoken around in our Discord and everything like that. Very much good, and it really did counter something that would be considered a hard matchup in the meta as a whole for most people, just because Thunderwolves can actually hit hard and really beat you up as an Ork. So then he went into round 4. He said Chaos Space Marines. This is kind of outdated from where we're at because they got the new books in CSM and everything, so it was just some cannons and some Legionnaire Warps Talons, stuff like that. He didn't have anything to really threaten the Bully Boyz reliably. Then in his last matchup, he went into Death Guard. Death Guard is something that we do not want to see as Ork players if they play their rules correctly. So we have a Biologist Purifier, 3 of them, 3 Foul Blight Spawns, 1, 2, 3 bricks of Plague Marines, so you already know what's going on there. He has 1, 2, 3 Rhinos, a Cultist unit, 2 Predator Destructors, floated Bloat Drones, 2 Plague Burst Crawlers, and 2 units of Nurgling. Ooh, so he does actually have all the tools. I would say these autocannons don't have the greatest AP, but Death Guard have ways to improve AP. And I think these autocannons give additional AP when they're shooting infantry. So I will say the indirect fire too. If the Death Guard player is smart, he will prioritize all the scoring units. It is nice that he has 4 trucks so he can actually hide, but having Zodgrod and Kommandos, that would be a thing where you're like, well, I can stop all of your rhinos from getting where they want to be and jumping out and hitting you with the auto flamers that are anti-infantry. These are units that you have to hope that you do survive. When this Plague Marine unit comes out with your Kommandos on the 4 of Feel No Pain, you actually do very much have a chance between your armor saves, and of course even reducing AP by being Bully Boyz with that, you can actually survive on your armor saves for that. Just keep in mind that they can double stack -2 to hit essentially. So how that's done is their contagion aura, they can choose to deny your weapon skill or ballistic skill by 1. So to your actual skill, meaning on the data sheet in your head, would change. So orcs would go from hitting on 4s with their power claws to 5s with their power claws. Then they would also put a Nurgling unit by you, which is an aura of -1 to hit. So it's essentially -2 to hit. Therefore, your orc power claws could end up hitting on 6s in this matchup. Of course, you do have the war bosses in there to go back to +1, so you'll be hitting on 5s. You just really have to pay attention to having the Bully Boyz getting reroll the hits and hope you can do the damage there. This was a skill-based kind of game for you to be able to overcome as a orc player, because they have all of the tools to kill you with the indirect, take out your scoring stuff like Kommandos. They can shoot your home field grot unit that's trying to farm you CP if they're being smart with their target priority as a Death Guard player. And they have the flamers and special weapons that they could put into you and really punch out some of your elite units. But in response, having something like Flash Gitz that you can be like, oops, you place those Nurglings, I can shoot them, pick up those Nurglings. Heck yeah, nah, I don't have -2 to hit. That could be a factor. Being in trucks, so you can actually counter stage them while Zodding Mandos take the board is pretty good too. So I could see him have killing just enough, but outscoring and having more board control than the Death Guard player. That's the only way you're really going to see that be playing out and going, and hoping that the Death Guard player makes a few mistakes with his target priorities. So shout out to Chris Taylor. Whoa! For running the Bully Boyz, but he ran them with flavor and a twist. He took the theory to the bank. He said, where you guys are talking about running 2 WAAAGHs, how about we have a primary WAAAGH with the Zodgrod and the Kommandos for complete board control, and I can delay you hard, and then I come in with the other one, so for the Bully Boyz. So that's really impressive to see. I really appreciate that. That's why I decided to cover it, even though it was a smaller event. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!